You are about to enter the Shockwave Skull Sessions podcast on shockwaveskullsessions.com. And now your host, Bob Nalbandian.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. I'm in the Christmas spirit. I'm drinking some eggnog and rum right here.
All right, cool. Yeah.
And before we get started, we got Mr. Eric Braverman. I should do a proper announcement here. First time we've had Mr. Braverman, and I've been meaning to get you. We've known each other for years. Everyone's like, dude, don't get Braverman on your show. Watch out for Braverman. Oh, you don't want to get Braverman. It's like, you know what? You have been nothing but great to me. You've said nothing but great things. Supported the Inside Metal DVDs and movies, and you got me perhaps the greatest award a man could get, the best documentarian. Thank you very much, from Heavy Metal TV Awards.
Yeah, Heavy Metal Television is doing good, but I'm pretty much retired.
That's what I hear, man. And we'll get into your retirement. And, I heard you out recently on Brandon's Metallica, and that got me going. It's like, you know what, man, I got to get Braverman on. You said some nice, good things about me, including calling me a harsh dick taskmaster, which I kind of like, actually.
Do you have any horses?
I do not.
Well, do you know why I'm asking?
Does that have to do with the Nalbandian name?
Yeah. What's more metal than making horseshoes?
Dude, you did some research there. Wow.
I didn't research that. What if I got to play Jeopardy tomorrow? I got to be ready, man.
That's right. Well, we're going to get into that. I know you are very knowledgeable about not just all things metal, but all things. Well, I guess horseshoes are metal. That is pretty metal. And of course,
oh yeah, dude, blacksmithing.
Nalbandian. You know what I always say? Nothing is more metal than Nalbandian. So
yeah,
there you go.
Ferrying. I think we call it ferrying.
Right. That's dude. You know your shit. Well, so for those that don't know, yes, the name Nalbandian actually comes from horseshoe making.
Where is it from? Where is it from?
Armenian. Yes.
Very good.
Yeah, so Mr. Braverman, Mr. Retired Man. Heavy Metal TV is still going strong. Heavy Metal Television.com.
It's like running right now if you're bored. It's free. It's still the world's only internet television network. There's no other one in the world where you just go to a .com and it turns your computer into a TV, and the .com is the spot on the dial. There's no buttons to push. It's free. 5 minutes of commercials. But after dealing with like Monty Connor, Tracy Vera, Missy Colazzo, Tom Hazard, I'm done.
Well, I was going to say, you went through a lot of different sponsors. I know, like you said, Metal Blade, Brave Words, I think, did a Metal Hammer, I think, sponsored that for a while.
That's what led to Heavy Metal Television. What was going on was...
I'm thinking of Killing Time Production.
No, you're right. But we were doing the greatest music ever created and how it ruined our live show. And I did that through Brave Words and Bloody Knuckles. And Tim, who's awesome, Canada's number one metal fan. He was
Tim
scared.
Henderson, absolutely.
Henderson, yeah. He was scared of the mischief and stuff. The part where you said at the beginning, if EB comes on, you might have to go sleep in a graveyard, or he enjoys infant flesh. So then I went to Metal Hammer, and what was that guy? Milas or Alex Milas?
Right, from Germany.
What a bastard. No, he was actually in London.
Okay.
Running Metal Hammer, and then when they changed everything around, I don't know where he went, and I was like, God, I'm doing a free show with millions selling. It's Joe Elliott on the show with me. I don't use those magazines to set up my interviews. I never asked them, hey, Brave Words and Bloody Knuckles or Metal Hammer, set up an interview for me. I just set up my own interviews, and then they'd be like, oh, Christine Muldering, from Slayer's office, who manages Mastodon, said that you tried to do an unauthorized Chuck Billy episode. And I'm like, what the fuck? unauthorized. I was like, Chuck Billy was forcing marijuana on me at the time. That day that happened. And I was like, I'm done with these goofs. So let's just make something we can control. Nothing has a pure heavy metal playlist. You know, everybody like dilutes it or pollutes it somehow. Like we'll play Van Halen, and I like Van Halen, and I've had some laughs with the Van Halen gang, but I won't play Van Hagar.
Right.
You know, we'll play Def Leppard, but we're not going to play Poison or Bon Jovi.
Right. Well, dude, I like having. I'm a watcher of heavy metal television, and I like the variety from the thrash to the to the more mainstream metal, but it's just everything all across the board. Great stuff, man.
Yeah, it's fun. You know, we've still yet to play an Anthrax. We're pretty proud of that. And that was the last thing, that guy that managed them, Marr. You remember Marr? Was it Tim Marr? He managed Anthrax for a long time.
Tom Marr?
Yeah, Tom.
Oh, he passed away recently.
Yeah, but the last thing we were talking about was this and how funny he thought it was. And
he was a great dude. I knew him back in when he started at KNAC back in the when KNAC first started the hard rock metal format. And what a great dude he was. And then he started working with Slash.
Normal. The funny part was a lot of people would be like, how come he gets to manage these bands or whatever? And he did the lowest commission of any manager.
Right. I could see that.
Like managing Anthrax for like 1% or something.
Yeah. I believe it. I mean,
so we started heavy metal television out of that. And we just had our 8th anniversary party.
Right.
Already. Whoa. And not that fun a party because we really can get nutty with the COVID and all that.
Sure.
Oh, dude, I lost 1,200 Live Nation concert tickets in one market this summer from COVID.
Wow. So what's your association with Live Nation? Are you
hey, EB, will you help us promote the Godsmack show? Oh my God.
So just in Arizona locally, or
I do it because it's so easy for me here, but I can set it up for anybody. Like you could be the LA guy. But it's been really hard getting people to do stuff. Like if you can't get Monty Connor, Tracy Vera, Missy Collazo, or Tom Hazard to do anything, how the hell?
You're a controversial guy, EB.
But why would Live Nation? Live Nation, I think, is more successful than those people.
True, yeah.
And they don't even question anything I do ever, period.
Well, you got an association with Brian Slagle, right?
I do. And what was funny, he was the first person I called starting heavy metal television. He said, do whatever you want to do. And then all they would do ever was give me a link to all their videos that was so unsecure that I could have took every Metal Blade video and then stole it and then blocked them out of it.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So I did, but
trust
like Tracy Vera and Vince Edwards or any of those people, they never want to do anything that would cause them to be creative or put effort in or care about music. Yeah, Tracy, I think hurts more than helps the music scene.
Yeah, I like Tracy.
I would like Tracy, to, but why is she grouchy? She was grouchy before I met her.
Yeah.
The first time I ever saw her, I was like, who's that grouchy lady? And, the art department of Metal Blade.
You bring out the grouchiness out of people.
But my art, I think out the cool. But my art department is the same. So my art department is the same as Metal Blade. It's a one-person guy,
right?
Who's done every Metal Blade thing, and I mean, I treat him better than they do.
All right. Well,
and then like that Monty Connor, just ouch. Why are you playing our music videos? Just that right there from Nuclear Blast.
He said that?
His company, and he basically would not support anything, or he's pretended it wasn't a thing. And we have people that have known him that we know, like neutral people, but like neutral people, so they don't have to deal with me.
Well, my question: Are you licensed to BMI and ASCAP and all that? So
I paid all those things. I've never missed a payment in 8 years.
Then really, it shouldn't be ever. Yeah, if you're as long as you're licensed and doing that, I mean, there's
millions
of internet. Go ahead.
But why would Missy Collazo which actually was the last thing that Tom Marr said to me with Anthrax and all his dealings with her. One of the last things he said to me, he's like, Missy is not your friend. You know, I'm your friend. I'll tell you, she's not your friend. She'd rather shoot herself in the foot than help heavy metal television. I'm like, I'm helping. I don't charge bands or fans. I've never charged a band or a fan.
Yeah. Well, dude, you are a very controversial guy in this business. I mean, starting going all the way back to
I don't know what I'm
movie, Metallica. Yeah. I mean, look at it. And especially, I mean, you have to understand.
Oh, I do. I like it.
No, but I like it. You know the way the business has changed. Yeah. You know the way society has changed, and all the political correctness and everything else that's going on within not just the music business. I'm talking, dude. Look at if you're a comedian these days. Look at anything. I mean, dude, it's a whole different ball game. And I've always said this about you, and I've always appreciated this about you. You are a unique guy. You are still like the 18-year-old metal kid that I think everyone kind of wants to be, but can't.
Right.
And you still do what you do, even though you could be an obnoxious asshole to a lot of people, and people, will find you controversial. They don't want to make dealings with you because it could affect their business or whatever. But you do what you do, and it's good that you do that because you need that. You need that balance in the business. You know? And I've always said that about you. But you got to realize, us, most people, I could do that. I'm not married. I don't have kids. I got nothing to sacrifice. So I could be an obnoxious asshole too, or whatever.
Well, I have a small family.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is I've got nothing that they could, I mean, all these other people could have, if you have a big business, especially with something like Metallica or AC/DC or even Slayer, which is a huge corporation now, they got to look out for, obviously, their people. They've got several people that work for them. I mean, literally, they are a corporation. So what affects, them with dealing with you is going to ultimately affect their corporation. So people involved with, say, Slayer, a Nuclear Blast, Metal Blade, whatever, I get it. They got to watch out for them. Whether it's right or wrong, that's, you got to understand these people are in their mid-50s. It's a whole different world. They're not 18-year-old kids.
I understand it. I like to play. I enjoy playing that part. That's part of the.
I enjoy it too, and I think other people do. I mean, sometimes it's cringeworthy, but
I think that, like Slayer, just like a great example. There's nothing better than having Tom and Jeff be your advocates in there. And then I told Tom, and I can tell, I have a whole story that I don't know if that's for another time or what, but I have a whole story where I just called him up with his wife and kids on the speakerphone and said it's retirement time. And here's why. Now he's retired. Yeah. Just like all the other, types of things.
Was this after Jeff had passed? You would speak to him about this? Yeah.
Well, we made a pact not to go to even that funeral at the Palladium.
Yeah, I was there. It was
but me and Tom were there.
Yeah. It was a tough time. I go way back with Slayer. I saw.
No, I know that's but again, I want to play that goofy role, so it's almost funnier. And if there is an afterlife, Jeff would be like, "Oh, EB didn't go to the thing." Fucking right on.
Now you're not a big fan of Gary Holt. Gary Holt replacing
no, Gary Holt's just fine. Exodus is good, and he's just fine. But I don't understand that.
Well, I understand the band. I mean, when somebody passes away, should the band break up? It's up to them. They've got a career, and I don't think there's a better replacement they could have got.
There probably is. But my thing with that I presented the band, and this is again how you get in trouble with Rick's sales office. I was like, do not replace him, and let's call up, Steve Vai, Gary Holt, Kirk Hammett, Yngwie Malmsteen, Edward Van Halen, and just and they'll just do a leg. So they'll do 2 weeks, then that guy will be gone. Then we do 2 weeks with that next qualified person, Zach Wilde.
And Zach, I could see, but for some reason, I don't picture Yngwie Malmsteen playing together with Kerry King.
He would do it for a week or two for the money.
I don't think he would do it. I don't think he would even do a band like
But
Metallica.
you understand my suggestion.
No, I know what you're saying, but my point is, if the band was to carry on, which a lot of people are glad that they did, and kept the spirit of Slayer alive. There's no better person than Gary Holt. He grew up with them.
Oh no, that's right. That's correct.
Right.
That part's correct.
Mm-hmm.
But so let's not be going on. Let me just say one last thing on that with that little bit. When Jeff Hanneman died, I got an email from Tom Araya and his wife, and it was like a 1-sentence thing. It said, "Hey, we just wanted to send you something to say we're really sorry about the loss of your friend." So, I'm getting condolences. That's how much fun Jeff and I had.
Yeah, I heard you.
Yeah, we made their box set. We wrote the book for their box set with Mark Paschke. We did their first home DVD, and we would have done more things, but of the thing that you just explained to everyone, like Rick Sales and those people, like, we can't have this guy telling Dino at Universal Records to go fuck himself to death, please. That's not great for the office,
Yeah, well, you have to have that balance,
And also one of the things I want to do right now, and I was talking to Mark Eglinton about it, who you know of him a bit.
Great writer.
To write a book that me and him could write a book called The Rise and Fall of Heavy Metal Music to 1969 to 2019, and like that's the end of it. Hey, my snowman. Yeah, because that's like I think it's over. There is no more.
Well, we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
No one's coming playing the hockey arena with the fucking mechanical plane or dragon floating above them, playing correctly. Because how do you learn to play the guitar and stuff so good if you're playing your Xbox all day? It's like those guys became that because they sat in a room in almost self-isolation with certain records, practicing that over and over and over again.
Well, that's what a lot of people are saying now. You got AC/DC. They'll probably do maybe one final leg. Van Halen's dead.
They need to stop. They need to stop.
AC/DC.
They're doing press on stuff like Rob Halford. He's got this book out. Hey, do you want to do something with the book? No.
Yeah.
No, I don't. This needs to stop.
Right here. The Halford book.
It needs to stop. No.
If I'm not going to say one way or another if they need to stop or not.
Is fraud. Judas Priest is fraud at this point. And, Jane Andrews, she's another one of those scared of Eric Braverman people.
She should be.
Yeah. But it was always good, because Rob's so cool. And then Glenn and KK would say, just pass that. They'd be just like, next subject. Of course he's going to do it. What? It's going to be fun. Glenn Tipton used to be like, what? The interview's today with you? Oh, yay! And start moving furniture around so it was going to look cool. So now that stuff's all done. I don't want to see Dennis Rodman play basketball tonight. It's silly.
No, I agree. Some bands do need to know when to pack it up. But
like Metallica?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Metallica.
I love
a bit. So,
that's the best.
Yeah. Well, you go way back. So when did you actually get involved? Did you get involved through Jason?
No, I got him involved.
Right, but that's when you timing wise. I
had a fanzine called Loud Magazine.
Now, was that I heard you talk about that on Brandon's podcast because I know Joe Lopez really well. Now, wasn't he the publisher editor as far as I know?
No. Joe was a guy that took pictures, right? And he got passes to all the concerts. So he puts an ad in the local music rag. Hey, I want to start a magazine. Need someone that can write English. Need someone with grammar skills.
So and I'm probably mid 80s, right? Or mid
1984, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Because he started just after I did Headbanger. Yeah.
Yeah. So I get a hold of him in the paper, and he's like an opposite of me. Talk about scared. He's like telling you how great Bon Jovi and Rat and all this stuff was.
Yeah, he likes all.
But instantly, he's living with his mom and dad at the time. He didn't have any dough or anything. He wanted to do this. So I'm like, let's just do it. How much could it cost? And we made a really nice magazine, big old thing. It was like really shaped funny. It was like
got all the issues. Yeah.
Anyway, my folks paid for all that. Joe didn't even pay for anything. So he was not really a publisher.
I got you.
I always liked Joe. And I thought it was funny because he liked that balance of the stuff that I didn't care about. Bon Jovi, Poison. He presented like the first Poison show ever in Arizona.
Yeah.
I believe that. So funny. So that's how that started. And then when Metallica was coming around, and Joe just sent me down there, like, hey, go interview these guys, and we'll take pictures. And I probably did like 3 or 4 shows with him through that.
So it's like Ride the Lightning tour.
Yeah, and the Master.
Okay, right.
And then I started getting to know people, and I became kind of like Mr. Big Rocker, and Joe really resented that. And I've seen him recently at the grocery store. He's always nice to me and stuff, but I was doing like the dream. Plus, I'm paying for everything. He had no money. This could all be documented, 100% paid for by my family. And then when I was on tour with Flotsam and Jetsam, a guy comes up to me and goes, hey, I just got the new Loud magazine, but your name's not in it. So I was out on tour. He just took my name off the masthead and tried to take over.
Well, I've known Joe for years. I know having my own zine, Headbanger, it's tough and expensive, especially doing a full-page glossy magazine like he was doing.
Everything of this. All the stuff I did, everything comes from Joe.
Okay, yeah. No, Joe, I used to see him all the time. When they had the Foundation's forums, we would always meet. We were pen pals from very early on, and we go way back. And I'll tell you a funny story. We met up in New Year's Eve, I think it wasn't the millennium. I think it was going into 99. You remember Black Sabbath did that big show their first show they did in the U.S. when they reformed with Bill Ward, Ozzy, Geezer, and Tony. And it was Black Sabbath, Pantera, Slayer.
Oh, you mean the thing that I was the guest of honor at the ballpark?
At the ballpark, yeah.
New Year's Evil.
New Year's Evil. What a blast we had. We
hung
out with Joe that weekend.
So you must have saw me that night, even though I was
I didn't know you then. So
dude, I was shooting a potato cannon around that night through billboards and assaulting.
I was so hammered that
night. They
just
said, I'll never forget like the general managers of that place. We're never, ever, 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 never, ever, ever having a concert here again. I'm like, this is a good concert.
It was a great show.
Like Soulfly or
they opened,
Megadeth.
Right. Megadeth.
New Year's Evil.
Yeah, I remember Marty got me passes. We were hanging out, and I remember with Joe. I'll tell you a funny story about Joe. After it was either that night, I think after the show, we just got the closest motel there. And we thought it was going to be like this metal motel, like everyone coming all over because it's, Metallica. I mean, it's Black Sabbath's first, a reunion show in the States. No one's there. The motel is dead except these kind of gypsy transient people. You know those people there? I recently saw a DVD about it. I was there with my buddy Toby and another guy, Mark, and we hooked up with Joe. And I remember we went to his brother worked at a strip club the night before.
Joe can be considered a transgender gypsy.
Well, I was going to say he got along really well because it was a real scary thing. It's like those guys that go from town to town and sell encyclopedias and rip people off. And, they were in this room and Joe made friends with them. We're hanging out with them and just this really weird vibe going on. And Toby and Toby's a big guy. So if anything went down, but they were just this weird vibe, like something's going to go down. He's like, dude, let's get out.
You're going to be great.
Or tell Joe, come on, let's go. No, man, this is great. He's drinking, hanging out. But mention that to Joe. That was a pretty interesting. But
that's how the Metallica thing came out of that.
Right.
And then Joe gives me a cassette. Flotsam and Jetsam cassette.
The first demo tape.
Yeah. And he's like, you need to listen to this because this is crap. It's horrible. It's not even music, but you'll like it. So I listened to it and he's like, I could set up an interview. I'm like, all right. So I go over to go do this interview. And Jason Newsted comes to the door in glasses, a ponytail, and I think he might even had a tie on. Like he was dressed like a little insurance agent.
Sure.
He thinks it's my first interview. He says, this is my first interview. I want to look good. My first interview. I want to make an impression. So I'm like, all right. So we sit down and start rapping and stuff. And guitar player Ed Carlson comes in the room with a dragon-shaped bong and a plastic bag full of roaches. Whole plastic bag of roaches, like 200 roaches.
We're talking marijuana here, not the bug people.
He says, hey, let's smoke. And, Jason, turns white, like, dude, this is my first interview. This is for our band. this guy's here to interview us. You're bringing these roaches out. And I'm like, yeah, what time is it? 2 p.m? Shit. So we like killed a bag of roaches.
Nice.
Me and this dude, like Jason's, doing the interview. And
Jason's a very professional guy. I met him. I knew Jason, I guess, prior to you then, because I remember him when he was in the band The Dogs, which we went to.
I didn't know that.
I'm very close with Armored Saint, and when Armored Saint first signed with Chrysalis, we all turned like 19 years old, and the drinking age in Phoenix was 19. They invited me. I was running their fan club and selling their merch, and they invited me out. So it's Armored Saint, a few of the road crew guys, Zach Harmon, who I'm sure you know from Metallica now. He was.
I actually sent him.
Great dude, yeah, and he was a blast. And I mean, we did like 4 shows, and it was like a Phoenix, a place called the Nightline, Tempe, I think it was called Rockers, or was that?
There was a
Rockers, and then there was Tucson, and the Dogs opened all those shows. And I don't remember much except I had my fanzine, The Headbanger, and Jason was like freaking out over, dude, this is so awesome, and and he knew of the magazine because I guess I don't know what the store was, Zia's or whatever they had, and he said, yeah. So that's and then of course he was just bowing down to Joey Vera, and he's like, you and Cliff were my favorite, and he was just such a great guy, and he was, I mean, we were all young, we were all like 19 and so, but
Jason sell his soul somewhere though. He's not the Jason.
Dude, people. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I know you are real close with him.
No, but he's changed more than anyone in any band.
Well, he's had it rough. I mean, especially going through the whole Metallica thing and everything else. I mean, let's be fair here. I'm sure it's affected. But
I was in a fraternity, you know what I mean? So, as far as hazing goes, hazing just shows they want you to prove that you want to be there. And I used to tell him all the time, stick up to these dudes, really? Yeah. These midgets, you're afraid of these midgets? And Hetfield was the only.
He withstood all that. I'm talking about after when they got into Load and Reload and all the stuff.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't allow him to do other things, which.
But not only that, but he was very unhappy with that material. I remember him going, "Listen, shit, I'm freaked out. Yeah. I am freaked out on this. What they're doing? What the fuck? Sperm, Blood album cover, terrible songs." Mascara, weird shirts. What the fuck are we doing? I thought he was going to quit before Reload came out.
Right. Wow. Well, he stuck it in for how many years? From 86 to 98 or so? So about 12 years. 12
Do you remember the Metallica Lollapalooza tour?
I wasn't there, but I do remember.
Well, he had his own bus on that thing. He wasn't even with them on that tour and out of his mind.
Yeah.
And he got a tour bus, filled it with music gear, said he was going to have jam sessions with all the musicians every night. He didn't jam with one ever. And whenever the band's off in a plane, he's in this tour bus by himself, maybe with a girl that he stole from me. And then not ever recording with those bands. And dude, we had barbecues. It was like Waylon Jennings, Devo barbecue night.
That was a crazy bill.
But he never was ever. I don't think he ever came.
I don't think he was happy at that point. Yeah, I think he wasn't really, and I think he was maybe a little bit confused on what was going on. And,
James is not like in Metalomania. We asked Jason straight out in Metalomania, 1990, whatever that was. Hey, is it fun to work with James Hetfield? He looks right at us. He's like that. He stops us. That question right there. Is it fun to work with James Hetfield? No.
Yeah. You can't tell if they're being serious or sarcastic.
I can tell because James is fucked up. Yeah, he's so jealous. But how could he be jealous of me? That's not I don't think that's possible.
You're a scary dude, Eric Braverman. You're a threat to all.
Only because I'm not scared.
Well, true. I mean, people, the thing about I'll tell you the scariest thing, and I'm your psychic here now. Scariest thing are people that are unpredictable.
Yeah.
You talk about James and Metallica. I could sit back. I could talk to James. They've been, and I'm being honest. I'm not saying this to kiss their ass or so they
No,
don't
they like
blackball
you.
me
They
for
like
having you on or anything.
They care about you. I know that.
They've been nothing but great. And they're, but I understand, I could see when we're at these parties, like we're at the 30th anniversary party or the party they did at their house, the record store day, and they did that thing at the old Cerrito house. And, you talk to them, or even like when I interviewed Lars for the Inside Metal DVD, I was at Metallica HQ for like an hour and interviewing them there. It was like 1982, when I first we're just talking about new wave of British heavy metal. Nothing has changed, and then you kind of realize, holy fuck, this is the guy that hangs out with royalty, hangs out, he's partying with Sean Penn. He collects Picasso paintings. Is this the same guy I was just talking to? Yeah. So you got to kind of understand. When you see this guy,
I do understand Lars. I do understand Lars.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, I think they all are kind of weary about, you could go out and talk to someone even like Dave Mustaine, great guy. And I know people say a lot of stuff about Dave. Me and Dave, he's been nothing but great with me. We'll be backstage and he'll drink his beer and his wine and we'll get, hang out, talk about all the time.
I love him. He's the best.
Bust each other's balls. And it's like, we'll get in the mood. I might get a little drunk and then you kind of go into public. And you see he's totally different, professional business. And then you're like, oh, you're going to say something to bust his balls. You're like, oh, I better watch myself. So I get that. You have to kind of, when you're in that, because I realized, dude, bands like Megadeth, Slayer, and obviously Metallica, they are huge corporations. And they got people out there, and we're talking beyond the metal press, the news sites like the Blabbermouths. We're talking the TMZs and all that, looking to get shit on them. So when they're in public, they're going to be a different person. And I understand. I know you do too, but it's something that you got to kind of have that balance. As long as they're cool and as long as they still play, up to par. And I think all those bands still kick ass live. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I agree with all that. I just don't care. It's not acceptable.
Yeah, I'm not saying you should or you shouldn't, but
I've saved their lives. Like I saved Mustaine from drowning to death. Shit like that. When you save a person from drowning themselves, you get to talk some shit.
Yeah, I agree. But
Metallica is like the best, and James Hetfield, I'm probably the biggest James Hetfield fan in the world, but he does not know how to enjoy all the riches.
Well, so you met James in the mid '80s when he was already this huge mega rock star.
I don't know if he was mega. I mean, I met him on the Lightning first.
Okay, yeah, I got you. But I mean, still, knowing him and knowing, I knew him from day one. I knew him pre-Metallica. We used to see each other at the Woodstock Club, and I used to go to Lars's house in Newport Beach with my buddy Patrick Scott when he was forming the band. So I kind of see and I know James, and it's no secret. I mean, everyone knows James's his history. He had some family issues, and his mother had passed away. He was a completely different person then. Very shy, very withdrawn. He had a lot of personal problems and issues, and going from that to being one of the biggest rock stars in the world and then having the alcohol problem and all that. So, he's a different person.
Very interesting. Dave Mustaine and James Hetfield, very affected by their mothers.
Sure.
Probably true with Tom. You keep mentioning Slayer, but I mean, like, it's so much so that, like, you notice that Dave Mustaine plays a lot, like up and down like this.
Yeah.
Well, he was locked in the closet a lot with the guitar. He couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
That's
true.
Because his mom and dad, or his mom was a Jehovah's Witness, and Dave would be like, I want to go trick or treating. She might get in the closet. Yeah. So I mean, just that. But then once he started making money, he would have his mom. He flew his mom to Europe for a European vacation / tour with Dave. So there's a lot of that magical balance and stuff. Yeah. These people, again, it's not like it ends up like you're alluding to it in a lot of ways, but they end up being like not normal. And how are we? And you just said it. How are we supposed to relate to the responsibilities, the different people pulling them in different directions, the TMZs or their own wives?
Yeah. Well, like I said, usually if you're one-on-one with them, or if you're in a a certain area. I mean, back in the day, I mean, it's funny because even you go back to when they were huge. I mean, look at the Metallica you did. I mean, they were getting loose. They were drinking. It was like, hey, anything goes.
Hey, we were going to do.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I
was just going to ask you, when did that come out? Because I actually saw this on.
Well, we made it probably like in 1995 or 6. It was that tour they did with Candlebox and Fight with Rob Halford. That's why he's in it. And then we just gave it to friends. Then DVDs and blah, blah, blah. And somebody said, hey, I want to put this out on DVD and I'll pay for everything. The people that made that orange version you had, that's Plastic Head Distribution out of like Oxford, England. Right. So then they had a bunch of, selling of the videos and marketing it. And we made a deal with them. And, God, I probably made 75 grand just from that.
Wow.
That
first time I saw it, I think was probably 98. John Bush had it. I was like neighbors with John Bush. I was living in Burbank at a
He's awesome.
I was renting. John is the greatest. And he was living in a house. We'd see each other daily. And he's like, dude, you got to come over. Check out this video I got. So we came over. I think Joey and Gonzo might have been there. And they showed me this. And we were all just like in awe, just going, fuck, this guy's great. I mean, that was my first introduction. I had heard your name before. And I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? It's like Eric Braverman. I go, that's Eric Braverman. Wow. And that was kind of my introduction to EB, a.k.a. Seshla.
Well, Windwalker. Well, me and my little gang, we didn't focus on anything. It's not like, let's manage bands. Right. Or let's write songs, or let's make videos, or let's be a promoter. We just did it all, and we were still kind of doing it, until maybe about 2 years ago, I was starting to go, what the hell? Why doesn't anyone want to have any fun? What's the problem here? Yeah. Let's have fun. And I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. But I don't want to disparage. I don't want people to think I'm bitter because, like, Guns N' Roses just played the football stadium that I could ride my bike to. It's like less than 2 miles from us. They gave me 50 tickets, EB plus 50. So I'm not
just played. You're talking last year, right?
Yeah, this tour they just did. Yeah, a year ago. Whatever the Guns N' Roses. Then Metallica came through, and I just said I can't go see you perform "Memory Remains" or "Until It Sleeps," and unless I can have guarantee that that's not played, I can't participate in that. I do have a wife and a daughter, and I can't just be caught in public in a room where someone's playing "The Memory Remains." then that album was so bad and stupid that Hardwired, it's just a piece of crap.
That's a great album. You don't like that album?
And then they had that guy. I love that album. They had that guy produce it. It's like the dude just working up at their place. Hey, what are you doing? Yeah. I'm cleaning up some boxes over here. Will you produce the Wired to Self-Destruct?
Yeah, I like the I prefer that production over Death Magnetic.
Because you're a wonderful person. Yeah. I like Rick Rubin. That's why I like Ball Breaker and the Beastie Boys and Rain and Blood and Death Magnetic. I love from start to finish. Yeah, and I went on that Death Magnetic tour. I went on Death Magnetic tour till I was kicked off. Mm-hmm. And James, when they were doing the Orion festivals, and James was like, I don't know if I could perform if Eric Braverman's on the festival grounds. After I did my work.
Yeah.
Which was bring a bunch of monsters that were professional to make Kirk Hammett's monster thing look good.
Right.
Bless his little soul.
So what's the deal with you and James Hetfield? Something must have happened.
I'm free, and he's everything I want to be. And I'm everything he wants.
That wasn't when he was trying to get sober, and you were just this crazy wild.
I think things started. When things started being really pretty bad during that time. Like when they were on tour for like Saint Anger with like Godsmack. Right. I was hanging out with Larry Walker, one of the greatest baseball players of all time. Played for Colorado Rockies, and also our friend Randy, the
baseball player.
Pitcher that we have a lot of fun with and stuff, and he's addicted to heavy metal and shit. Yeah. We're like at a show in Tucson, and a guy comes up to me in the audience and goes, "Hey, are you EB, the Killing Time guy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I remember you. Who the hell are you?" And he's like, "I'm Guyton." Like, how do you forget a guy? My first name's Guyton, and he does the computers for the Tucson Unified School District. So he's a high level for security, professionalism, wonderful person. And he's like, hey, I've been trying to get a hold of James for months, and he would always hook me up for shows, and I could come say hi after the show, and I haven't been able to get a hold of him. And I told him, like, hey, look, his wife and his handlers and psychiatrists told him that, like, he can't have anyone in his past anymore. So if you're in his past, we need to reevaluate that. And I'm like, have you reevaluated Lars and Kirk first? Or is this all bullshit? Because if you're getting rid of the people in your life that aren't the greatest influence, you got to get rid of the cocaine and alcohol people and weed smokers right there.
Lars, I think at that point, James has kind of separated himself from Lars and Kirk, and he would travel on his own.
On this last tour, he insisted on his own jet now. On the Heartbreaker. Need my own jet now. The jet together.
Probably his handlers that probably and for his own good, I'm sure that's why he moved out. He's in Colorado now. He's
okay, but I'm just saying the thing with us is like as it gets, and then whatever. But it like that night, in that one night, I'm like, I felt bad for this Guyton guy. So in my pocket, I have like 270 different kinds of Metallica passes for the night. So I give him some after show worst pass and say, after the show, Hank, don't get thrown out, and I'll kind of go find you. And then I'll go ask James if he wants to say hi to you. Hi, normal human. I'm doing James Hetfield a favor. So I'm there with Randy, Hall of Famer, no big deal. We're walking down the hall, and he was buying us some drinks, and we're making fun of each other again. Because like I said, me and him are the guys that get the backstage pass in Phoenix. So it's like me and Randy sitting there intimidating. The big unit, 7 feet tall, him and me sitting next to each other. The people don't know who he is. They're like, what the fuck? Yeah. They're just scared. So anyway, James loses his mind, starts screaming at the entire staff. Why does this person? And they're like, what person? What person? They're like, that guy. And they're like, what? Who? What the fuck? He's screaming in front of Randy Johnson, Hall of Famer. And then someone's like, do you mean EB? He's like, EB. Yeah. And like, your friend EB? What are you doing? What are you talking about? And so I just felt bad and told everyone, hey, it's cool. 100% my bad. I will go meet this guy and tell him that James Hetfield has fucking lost his chicken, and that his wife, the greatest metal performer, writer, rhythm guitar player, singer, everything, charisma, everything, most successful, is scared to say hi to a person from his childhood. He's a straight person, by the way, because his handlers told him everyone in the past needs to go. Oh, wait, what about Lars and Kirk? That part's not convenient because the wife and the handlers don't get their check. And like my friend Jimmy the Pineapple used to always say, case fucking closed.
So let's go back with your history with Metallica. You were doing I wasn't aware that you were involved. I know Stephen.
I started So What?
So What? Okay, we'll talk about that a bit because
they Jason and Tony Smith. You know Tony Smith?
Yeah, I don't know him personally. I met him.
He should be on here. He probably wouldn't do it, but he would be the best. So he's an English cat that's done all the bands. He becomes their tour manager. He's like palsied too. He's like half a man. Like he limped and he had a palsied hand and a leg and hard to do things. Wow. We were fellow chocolate addicts, so he would have fancy chocolate and people having dinner. Me and him are eating these big like European chocolate bars like for dinner. And they're making this So What magazine. And so the first thing we're going to do is make an issue of each guy in the band, and all the guys in the band committed to contributing to the magazine each issue. Thank you. Do you think fucking Kirk Hammett contributed to the fucking magazine? Are you retarded? So anyway, I just said, okay. And I just got like in a buzzard position, like they're not going to do anything. 100%. That's already done deal, even though the meeting just ended. I'm going to swoop in and do everything. So me and Jason made the Jason Newsted.
What year are we talking about here? Is this like shortly after Jason joined, like 87?
Oh, yeah. So what's up? Let's get the...
Yeah, break it down.
What's around?
I got to get some of those early issues.
I don't have this stuff handy or anything if anybody cares.
Now, is that the book? Oh, good. No, that's the issue. Okay, yeah.
Right. And then, so anyway, start working on this. I did that famous thing of James Hetfield, like in the skeleton with all his injuries. It's like a double...
So my question is, because I know Stephen and
Tony started paying me to do it.
Now, what was the magazine, the direction? Because I know you've got this, obviously, this great wacky sense of humor and this kind of, I know Stephan's a very serious writer, like I know they did back then, but what was the direction of the early So What? Because, the stuff I had is, go ahead.
Well, no, sir. I think it was almost like an answer to the demand. People want this stuff. We can have this way of reaching out.
Was it humorous, and was it?
I mean, you could go get one on eBay probably for 25 cents. Okay. I think yes, very humorous.
I will check it. I will have to check it out.
I mean, and I would do shit like one time we went to where Cliff Burton was buried. Not buried, but where his cremations were put out with Jim Martin and his brother Lou Martin, and we went out there camping for the weekend, and before the end of it, they're shooting at me. No big deal. No big deal.
They're shooting at you, meaning?
Yeah, we're shooting guns at each other.
Oh, okay.
And so, James, like, go put that exploding target up on that mountain. You're a hiker, faggot. And so I'd go up. That's how we talk. I would go up there and I'd put it up there, and then they're shooting at the target before it's out of my hand. Yeah. So I wrote an article about that. And then the next time in the next issue, James just did a handwritten full page. All Eric Braverman stories need to be taken with a grain, scratched out, block of salt. I am this member of these organizations with firearms. So this has always been going on.
Right.
Because no one would ever stand up to them. And I didn't see any reason not to. And a lot of the time, those fucking guys were sicking me on people and each other.
Yeah. Well, that's how they were back then. They were a whole, especially when they were all drinking, when they were alcoholica and all that. It was, and we're going up through the Black Album. When they were like, huge.
The height of the fucking party.
And I think they started changing over when the Loads, their personalities, and they got old. They became fathers. Some of them maybe grandfathers. I don't know. But, whatever it is, I don't know what.
Dude, I'm nothing.
People change.
Hey, I'm nothing without them. That's like how I was like. I got 12 million, platinum things out in my rock and roll room. They gave me 12 million platinum things, and wow. I could literally. There was a time for years where I would show up at a show, make up some shit, and have a hotel room, paid, food card, whatever, shirts. Fucking get people in. Then I try to make a party later, and all that shit. I got drivers room.
Generous.
It was almost like it was just so big that I'm just one guy. And then when Tony Smith, they had the falling out with Tony Smith, which actually was ended up being a big mistake. That was very heartbreaking for me. I wasn't working on it much anymore. But we were even writing the stories about the first symphony thing. And all this kind of stuff, covering things for them. And then when they were totally disarrayed with it, that's when Stefan Shirazzi came in, and now he has an awesome career and job and security because it's all him.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
I love that guy.
He lives out there. Yeah, he's a good dude.
I recently sent him a funny picture of me and him where we're at a party, and it's like it was Kirk Hammett's first bachelor party, where we made him fuck those toothless whores while he was throwing up in a plastic bag.
I heard about that.
Oh yeah, I got pictures of him just fucking. Yeah, because I just Ross Halfin was there going, "Why are you taking pictures?" I'm like, "Well, if I don't take pictures, how could you be in any of the pictures? There's no thing like extender selfie thing." So I got the picture of Ross. Ross did official. He wouldn't let me put the four of them together and take a picture that night.
Yeah, that sounds like Ross Halfin. Yeah,
I love the guy. I love people that just call someone they never see in their life a cunt. Yeah. That as a rule. Whatever you can't get out of my way. What? So and now Kirk Hammett's celebrating his second divorce, which this will be guess I'll be on TMZ tomorrow. But just like I was the first to announce that they were doing the drive-in concerts.
Yeah, I remember that.
I'm like, hey, they're doing concert drive-ins. No one knows. And then just like this, I always get even though I don't necessarily want it, I get the information first.
Right. Were you at any of those drive-in shows?
No, I can't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I hear it. That's odd.
I'm not going to go see somebody's grandfather. Like Kirk Hammett looks like somebody's grandmother. I'm not going to go see somebody's grandmother play The Memory Remains or Until It Sleeps. That's crimes. Those are crimes. And then we're in at the drive-in. It's like I've seen the baddest ass shows of them ever.
Right.
Why the fuck? You know, I remember that show at the country club, first show at the country club
with Jason.
Yeah, I got to go.
Were you at the Jezebel show as well? They did a show the next night at Jezebel.
No, I think I was too high. I didn't make it. What happened?
That was even better. That Metal Church headlined it. Yeah. But both those shows were.
No, I remember that. I do remember it, but I didn't go because probably some fancy Hollywood, probably like Clint Eastwood or something was in town. I went, and Lee Majors, and they're like, "Let's have EB come over for lunch." So I couldn't go to the concert.
So let's talk Slayer a bit. How'd you get involved with Slayer? And
I started doing that stuff with Loud Magazine. I listened to Slayer. I'm like, this isn't music. I'm scared of this. And then a great friend of mine was like, you need to listen to Slayer. So I listened to it and I was like, this is fucking good. And then just through the friends and stuff, a lot, just whatever it was, I started getting into shows. And then they really liked the fact that my whole whatever. So they like, if Jeff and Tom saw me, they'd be like, Tom, I know all his family members and, we have a pretty deep relationship. It was really hard not to go to the last show in LA, but I didn't go because I didn't want other people to be worried about what I was going to do to them. It's like Kirk Hammett, he went to the last show, and these people, I didn't want to go.
Didn't go either. I was at the last show they did up in the Bay Area.
It's probably even better. But Tom was like, please, you got to come to the show. I'm like, I'm not going to come to that very last one. Because, me and him could go sit by a campfire, whatever, in a state park any old time and argue about whatever Fox News bullshit,
Right.
He's been living in Texas for a while. So, but that's what happened. And then, I'm like a creative guy. And then I had that friend, Mark Paschke, who was very good friends with them. And then I just started throwing ideas out there. And next thing you know, it's like, oh yeah, let's just, why not have him do it? He's already out here, and he's doing all the stuff. And
Mark Paschke, he's the one that directed the Metal Mania. Or
Metal Mania tried to. He gets the credit for it.
Yeah.
I don't know how much direction.
Right. Now, is he an Arizona guy or is he
a San Francisco person?
Okay.
But he's from Chicago. His dad was probably Chicago's best artist.
Oh, wow.
So his dad's a very famous artist that painted very famous things for the city of Chicago. He did Playboy's 40th anniversary cover. He's such a known, artist. So he, his paintings could sell for $150,000 or whatever. So, and also became a very good friend of mine. And I actually worked for him. So Mark was a guy that wanted to do stuff. He was actually working for Kirk Hammett up until maybe a year ago when Kirk fired him again, probably because, again, these guys listen to their handlers, their psychiatrist, whatever, their wife, and got rid of him for some reason. So something happened there.
Did they hire him back, or is he?
Not yet. I haven't worked with Mark for like 8 years. And then again, I started boycotting Metallica once James was too afraid to have me on festival grounds. It's like, I just told Kirk, I'm not doing anything for you ever again. I just made you look cool with all your... Notice when I got out of it, his whole monster thing went away.
Yeah. Well, I have this feeling that you and James are going to reconnect very soon. And you and the whole band.
I would. There's no reconnecting. I would listen. I would lick that guy's boots. Like he's like the best.
Sure.
My thing is, what could I do for you, sir? But I think that a lot of the stuff of him thinking people are taking advantage of him, or these weird things of I can't sit in a jet with Lars after all this time now. I got to have my own jet. I think it's just too, he's not tethered except to his profound devotion to his family.
Sure. Well, he is. I think a lot of it, and not just James, and I'm saying all rock stars and different people that, you got to realize a band like Metallica, they've toured, 250 days out of a year. They rarely see their family. So he's kind of trying to make up for it. Well, whatever. And I'm not just saying, oh, James is right for doing whatever. I'm just saying I kind of understand he's trying to make up for past time, doing the family thing, whatever. But, whatever.
And again, to be much more than fair.
I'm not a family guy, so I don't know. I don't care.
A lot of this is my own standards.
Yeah.
It's my own bullshit. Doesn't mean they have to live up to it. They've already done their thing, but I don't understand decisions like acoustic disposable heroes, or we're going to make a movie, and we're going to make a movie, and instead of having disposable heroes in it, it'll have the memory remains in it, and then we wonder why the movie didn't make it. Like, there's just no what? Who's at that meeting going, yeah?
I don't know if it's management or if it's them or whatever. I think they try to do this balance of let's try to please everyone. So they'll do an album, they'll do a symphony album, they'll do a Saint Anger, they'll do Load and Reload, but they'll always come back and do a Death Magnetic, or I think they know they kind of need to get that, but there is kind of that balance.
I think Lars does it as a bit of a fuck you, like I think
do so. I mean, that's what Iron Maiden does too. I mean, they'll come out and they'll do a whole album which fans don't really care for, and they'll play the whole album from start to finish live. It's like, fuck you. You're going to listen to this album.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of Metallica's attitude too. They're just like, fuck you. We're going to do this. We want to get this out. I mean, the thing with Lou Reed, I don't care for that at all. I was never a big Lou Reed fan, to be honest. But, whatever, if they needed to get it out artistically or whatever.
You like Iron Maiden a lot? Like these other things?
I mean, not to say I've lost interest. Their latter albums after Brave New World, I've kind of not. It's not that I don't like it. Certain songs,
But do you know? But I just have hilarious stories of them that are so fucking good. Let me do a real quick one because it's fairly recent, and it also involves Lars, Kerry King, Robert Trujillo, Brian Posehn, Scott Ian, Dave Grohl, all them. So I'm like, hey, they're going to recreate the Scream for Me Long Beach concert, but it's going to be
at those shows at Long Beach Arena.
Was that in 2007 when they did the redo? It was at the Forum. I think it's 2006.
Oh, well, the original one from Life After Death.
The last where they redid the Egyptian puppet show and all that. And that Sam Dunn, that little Sam Dunn guy made Flight 666.
Metal Evolution, that was a great movie. He did a good job on that.
So we, but again, he's always scared of me. He has to cut the EV parts out.
Oh, well, you're in there too.
I've had talks with him. He's like the epitome of scared of me. I think it's
they fear you. You're a fearful guy. It's all about the fear.
I'm here to help.
It's my beard.
But I've murdered.
I know.
All right. So anyway, this I wanted to go to that, and then like the friends, like Mark Paschke, Brian Liu. You know Brian Liu, don't you?
Of course, yeah.
They were all going and whatever, and people were like, "You're gonna go as a fan to this concert, EB." I'm like, "Well, I don't understand. We bought you a ticket. You have a hotel room at this goofy Hollywood hotel, and you're driving to the show. You're gonna park and pay for parking. You're gonna buy a shirt, and then you're gonna watch the show in your seat. And then after the show, you're not doing that thing that you do. You're going to get into the car, and then we'll go to have dinner, and we'll pay for everything because we want you. We know you want to go, and we want to go with you because it'll be really fun. And and also because you love Lauren Harris so much, maybe you guys could get together. And of course, that close. I got a great video of me and her talking. So anyway,
she opened that show, right?
What?
I said she opened that show.
Yeah, right? She opened a bunch of them in a row.
Yeah.
It was bad for her, but Yeah. So but they're bad. That's also where we met Richie Faulkner.
Well, they were dating, right? Weren't they?
No, I couldn't tell.
I know he was in the band.
Guitar player.
Yeah, I think they were dating.
No, but he was the guitar player in her band too. And when I was doing a thing with her one day, I'm like, "Why don't you sit in with it?" And he's like, "What? Well, I'm no one. Why do you want me?" And I'm like, "Come on, you played the guitar good. You're a good-looking guy. Come sit with me." Now he always looks back at that like I'm the coolest dude in the world.
Now I think he's with George Lynch's daughter, actually.
What?
I said, not to interrupt you. I think he's with George Lynch's daughter.
Got a baby.
Kid, yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah, George Lynch and Richie Faulkner will be jamming in next to my crib later. Fuck.
As I say, he's an Arizona guy, right? George Lynch, isn't he living in Arizona?
Yeah, he's awesome too. Awesome player and all that. So anyway, I'm like, all right, I'll be a fan. I start driving to the show at the Forum, like in the worst neighborhood in LA. All the mutants are out there and black shirt people. And they've oversold the concert too, I find out a little earlier. Oversold it because they have a big floor at the Forum and the seats, and the floor and the seats have a big wall in between them for security. It's like 20-foot wall. You're in the seats, or they had the wall, and on the bottom they didn't have any seats or anything. It was just cleared to maximize the concert ticket sales. So I'm driving in, police and everyone's going crazy. I'm paying the guy to park, and I'm like, okay, and where do I park? And he like points to like Jupiter. You'll be parking out there, follow this line 100 million miles away. And then as I'm driving, this cop jumps in front of me. He's like, stop, you park right there. And I'm like, that's the ramp going up to the LA Coliseum. That's the ramp. And that's like the hand. You just park there and shut up. God damn it. With this, I'm in control. Everyone in the car is like, you're a fan, EB, stop it. Because now I'm at the best parking spot there. So I start getting out, and I have a big jug of ginger ale that I'm enjoying, just straight up ginger ale. This is during the time where I didn't drink for 22 years. So I just had a 2-liter ginger ale. Start going towards the ramp, and then I see the line is around the Forum twice, and then out to like the line went out to like Trenton, New Jersey from the Forum.
Sure. Yeah.
So people start going Slayer when they see me. I'm like, yeah, hey, how you guys?
This is the Iron Maiden show. They're saying Slayer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the kids are out there Slayer. So they see me, and I'm like, yeah, here for the show. Come on, come in line with me. So now I'm in that parking spot and the front in line in front of millions of people, and everyone's going, stop, dude, you're a fan. Please stop it. Don't do this thing you do. You're a fan.
I don't get that. Why? So what are they acting like your mother? Or
they were sick of going to shows and watching me being treated like, royalty. Then they can't extract me after the show because I'm like, dude, my friend, the truck driver's here. Remember that guy? We're fucking partying later. And we got these girls. And also we got Brian Posehn, and we got Sean Penn. And also this guy wants to come over. And that dude, I don't even know him, but it wasn't he Batman? That guy's coming. We're partying. That whole shit. They're just like, no. It's a concert and dinner. We're buying the shit. I never knew why they were doing it. It's like a joke. So like, you're a fan, stop. So then I get it. I go walking in, and then I get in, and they're like, what? Because I had that ginger ale in my hand. Like, no one at the Forum will let you walk in the front with a normal ticket carrying a 2-liter thing of ginger ale. They would have thrown it out.
True. Yeah.
What the fuck? You're doing that thing. I'm like, I'm not doing anything. So they had a really cool shirt that night. Remember the shirt for the show was Eddie on Hollywood Boulevard above the star, and it said Iron Maiden.
I saw that.
And on the back, big pink star door, and he's slamming the door open with his finger out. It says, I'm the fucking star here.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need that shirt. Like, well, you can buy one. I'm like, but Brian Lewson, head of the merchandise, and I'm thinking I'm getting a big old box of. So I go to my seat. Turns out I'm in like the best seat. Iron Maiden always has the two. Like their shows are always set up with like 2 arms coming out, so it can become an eddy, and then the 2 arms are out, and those are also ramps to go out in the audience. Yeah. So my seat is touching the corner of that ramp, those hands. So I go to my seat, and I'm like, this is kick ass. What the hell? We're gonna be untying their shoes and shit. Right as I sit down, this dude comes running up. He's wearing a Dodgers jersey, totally open. He's got a black eye, big smashed in face, cigarette in his mouth. He sits next to me. He's like, whoo, yeah, what's going on? My name's Will. Never forget. My name's Willie. My friend's selling hot dogs, so I just came to work with him, and I'm just hanging out. What's going on? I'm like, this is good. What are you smoking? He's like, oh, we can't smoke in here, but I got these giant blunts. I'm like, we can smoke in here. Look at us. Look at me. Look at you. We look like we just fought each other. Let's go. So we start smoking giant blunts. Dude, we're getting fucked up. People were afraid to even come down the rows to sit near us. You could see rich people that bought those seats going, I'm not sitting by them. And then all the people, like at the Forum, if you show a pack of cigarettes, they tackle you.
As I say, security wasn't after you when you were.
Yeah, they were coming up and going, I don't want none of that.
Yeah.
They saw that dude and me, and we're all the way at the end, like this end of the thing. So the blah blah blah, we're sitting there smoking. Finally, Mark Paschke and everyone sits down that row, that great row next to us. I couldn't see any of the rock friends I thought I was going to see. I was like, "Where's the rock friends?" So Lauren comes out. She does her show. I'm trying to get some butt grabs or whatever because she's bending over in front of me and stuff. And she is super good looking.
Yeah, she is.
It's super cool and nice.
I will second that.
Her sister works for Iron Maiden, and she's really cool too, but doesn't look like her. It's like weird. And then Steve Harris, he's no fun to work with. So you deal with them. So gets done playing, and we're all sitting there, and then we keep smoking all this stuff. Everyone's looking at us like, why are they smoking cigars? So finally, this is the greatest thing. Fucking the Iron Maiden show's getting ready to start, and down at the soundboard on the floor, I could see Dave Grohl, Kerry King, Lars, Robert, Posehn, that Hawkins kid that plays the drums, all the people, probably Sam Dunn too, and his producer banger guy, a couple other notable, Scotty Ian. Of course, you can't do anything. That's why I don't need to do anything with Anthrax with heavy metal television. If you turn on a computer and put in the word rock, Scott Ian is talking about. I'm like, Scott, write one good song, then get back to me. Thank you so much. I also made his birthday. I think it was his 40th birthday. His wife was dumb enough to ask us to make a birthday video of him. And one of the scenes is Kirk Hammett just on a toilet shitting, going, "Is that the new Anthrax record?" So there's a lot of shit. So anyway, the show starts. I see them all down there, and they're all squished in the soundboard. And I'm like, what? Concert's going, Aces high, do. One point, Bruce like makes a funny face at me like during the solos. And I'm like, yeah, I'm right here, Bruce. He's like, he does like a, I got you. And he likes to make speeches, and he knows now.
You're not hard to recognize, Eric.
But I like his speech more than a lot of the songs now. But I like that concert because they weren't doing any of the stupid songs. It was like reliving Live After Death.
Right.
Like note for note almost. He was even going, "Scream for me," for him. He even at one point did say "Scream for me, Long Beach Forest." Yeah. So in between songs, he's stopping, everyone's just roaring. I can't believe you weren't at this thing. He comes walking.
I missed it.
He comes walking up. He's walking right up to me. Puts his hand like on my shoulder. "I'd like to tell you something. It's very expensive to do an Iron Maiden tour. And we fly all around the world. I'm carrying a goddamn sarcophagus in the plane. I'm flying the plane. I've got a sarcophagus. You know how much it costs to do it? It's crazy. But let me tell you, every time we come to town, these people want a parking pass and a free this and a free that. And they want time. And then they need their friend. And they can't just buy a ticket like you folks. These people right here." And it's almost like he took a giant finger and touched them all, each one on the forehead, like from 200 feet away. And they're all looking up and they're looking at me and going, "What?" Kerry King and Lars were like, "What? How did he orchestrate this fucking bullshit?" Then he turns back to me and goes, "Because this is a fan. This is a fan. You're going as a fan? This is a fan. He came here as a fan."
He's pointing to you.
He's holding me.
Okay.
And they're looking at me, and I'm looking, and I'm like, whoa, and I'm all like high from smoking blunts, which I don't smoke that tobacco mixture weed. I would never do that. It was just because that beat up dude was there. So I'm like rolling with it. And like, if that wasn't the greatest metal, if you're the #1 heavy metal fan in the world, which I'd like to see my second, that's the shit. And just pounded it.
That's a great story.
And then just more, he's like, "Yeah, right there, that parking pass, and you want a shirt, and you want your uncle to go, and your cousin. It's $5 fucking ticket. I gotta fly the plane and fit a sarcophagus in it with this mummy." Like when he said
the raps, he's hilarious. Bruce,
when he said the word sarcophagus, like me and him almost stopped and like went. You know? Then after the show, I kept going, "I'm here's a fan." Yeah, so that's like my favorite. Sorry to go off crazy, Metallica.
No, that's a great story. Funny. And it makes me even more pissed that I missed that show. But before we end, let's talk a little bit about Slayer. What's that?
No, I just said we went crazy that night. But Slayer's has been a weird relationship because I'm kind of like them. I don't care. Let's what? It's a song about a concentration camp. What's the problem?
Right.
Do we have to tell you that Hitler's bad? We don't have to tell you Hitler serial killing's bad. You didn't know serial killing was bad. It's just a song. We write about isms around here. Satanism, racism, fun stuff.
Sure.
Addiction. So, and then I started when I knew that Jeff was a World War II buff and what his dad's history, I started going and finding weird shit like the papers. Where's your papers? And those papers with the Nazi stamp and the swastika and all that. And I'd give it to Jeff.
Right.
And then finally Jeff's just like, "I love you, man." And like we ended up being friends. And even people in the Slayer camp are like, "You talked to Jeff?" Yeah. "Oh yeah, I called him. I called Jeff the other day. after you're done yelling at me, we talked about this idea I have. I think it's pretty good. And they'd be like, wait a minute, you dialed this number and Jeff Hanneman answered the phone? I'm like, yeah, you know, we need each other. Like, we got to talk about tanks and shit, submarines. So we just, then when I wanted to do stuff, like they hired this John Bon, just how smart their management company is. It still has stupid bitches like that Moldering bitch that does math. What a fucking asshole. That Nick Johns was the greatest, the guy that died. You could just call him up and go, I want to come throw up in your office. Oh, it sounds great, EB.
Yeah. Well, who is this?
Nick John.
Nick John? Yeah, I heard about it. Yeah.
He ran in the office for a long time. He was like the second in command, dude. He got some cancer. But anyway, so like on that one, they're like, we're making our first direct to DVD thing. How do you want to be involved? And I'm like, I'll just do the whole thing. Then all of a sudden it's like, well, we got Tony Bon Jovi coming in. I'm like, Tony Bon Jovi? That sounds familiar. It's John Bon Jovi's brother. Yeah. If you could just help guide him through your world. I'm like, guide this poor guy. You want me to guide this poor guy through my world?
This is not a Slayer show or a Mastodon show?
No, this is Slayer's War at the Warfield DVD. Gold selling DVD, their first, which is War at the Warfield, made at the Warfield. And then I made a thing called Fans Rule to go with it. And
so
then
this was a while ago. This was
like 20 years. That's at least 20 years ago. Just that.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Then so I'm like, all right, real smart. Rick Sales.
Mm-hmm.
What a fucking dick jackass who Tom Araya doesn't even like. Like, so why do I have to like him? So Tom Araya doesn't like him. I don't have to like him. So anyway, the guy, he hires this Tony Bon Jovi, who's really cool guy, super cool and fun to work with, but he was almost like scared and fuck, this is opposite of my world. And I got this gig, but I really don't know what I'm doing. So we ended up doing that whole thing. It was a great project. Like I said, it went gold for DVDs, which is really pretty good. And at the same time, they were starting to go, let's make a box set. And so I submitted all the stuff for the box set. And of course, that stupid Dino Paradides or whatever at Universal was like, these are crazy ideas. You know how I know they're crazy, that they thought it was crazy? Because we'd have conference calls with Universal, Rick Sales' office and everyone. And then when I'd say, oh yeah, I'm off the conference call, and I'd go, they would all just start talking shit. This guy's yeah, this guy's really crazy, man. And they're like, crazy? He's dangerous. You hear what happened?
They fear you, dude.
And it was like, did you hear what happened at the Fresno show where him and the newly christened state championship Fresno University football team and him?
Well, again, these are corporate guys. You got to remember, these are Universal.
My dad worked at AT&T.
But it's a different. Back in the 80s and the 70s. Nowadays, all the record companies got corporate marketing guys from.
Yeah. But why is that? But why?
Wall Street working at record companies.
If I bring you $2 million and some executives.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying that's just how it is.
No, yeah, you're right.
I deal with these guys all the time. In the 80s, when there was a record business, well, I mean, you're talking what year is this? About 90? If you're talking the war.
I was doing that particular thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the last Slayer things I did were when they were going out to Coachella.
I remember that box set. In fact, those Woodstock shows were, who dubbed all those the videos for that? Me. Kerry King and Stephen Craig used to come over to my house in the early days because they were on the beta cam. With the betas. My dad had a beta machine, so they would come over and they would watch. I had like the Venom videos for when they did Bloodlust and the old Tank videos, and then back then before Venom and Metallica, they got into that. Kerry was the biggest Judas Priest and Black Sabbath was, so I had the Black Sabbath from the Heaven and Hell tour, the Black and Blue tour. We would sit around, watch shows, and fold my fanzines, Headbanger fanzines, because we always did features or these big ads on Slayer. So they would come over to him and Steven, and we would dub these videos, because this is when we started video trading, because we had the NTSC system. So people in Europe would pay back then $100 to convert them to PAL.
Oh yeah, right.
They were such huge Slayer fans.
Yeah,
but we would send out those DVDs or the DVDs.
But also remember
VHS, I should say.
Remember, I'm just a fan. There's no aspirations of doing like professional stuff like what you do with the videos now. That's never been a 1 minute thing. Like if anybody goes and looks at like my greatest music ever created episodes, everyone on there sold 1 million, like every single person. But we don't really even talk really about that shit. We're talking about like aliens and drugs and fighting and all that.
I've watched many of them.
But I also had another life outside of that. I was in marketing for years, just making up like slogans for people. How weird's that? That doesn't sound very metal. Then I was into caving. I went to the top of caving with Forest Service.
That's awesome, dude.
Then I have, I do volunteer work and trade sometimes in weird animals for zoos, find the right things.
So do people have a misconception about EB? Is there a big misconception about you?
No. Huh? Misconception
you're
is that
world traveler.
The kill count is lower. People are like, he killed this person, and I'm like, fuck, what? I did not ever dig up anyone's grandparents at the graveyard, type of shit. And you have impact. One of the great things about knowing you is if there's ever a mutual thing, and you've already heard me do it. I think you said the other day. I always go, yeah, Bob Nalbandian, that shit when he hit the school bus.
I love that.
Troopers clocked him at like 48 miles an hour, and they hit the school bus, killing all the children. Not one of them was over 7 years old, and that's fine. Oh yeah, he'll stick it in. And they're like, "Whoa, what?" And they're like, people think like they don't get it.
His badass reputation.
Yeah, but what am I saying? Like, it's so stupid.
I listen to the shit. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I said, I'm still trying to get over when you called me a. What was the actual Dick Taskmaster?
That's probably something I wrote or something. I don't know. But you get because people. This is how funny it is. Because people look like, Bob's really always been really cool, and he really enjoys his stuff. He's professional and cool and nice. I'm like, yeah, it's fucking real nice. So you find the dead cat hung up in your fucking garage with "Love Bob." Then it's not as funny, is it?
No wonder I've been getting all this hate email.
Oh yeah,
across the world.
We're getting a bunch, but no, I don't think there's no misunderstanding. I owe everything a lot or a tremendous amount of my life to, James and Lars and Kirk and Robert and Jason and Slayer and Joe Lopez and folks like yourself. I would be doing. I would just be out hunting without I would just be listening to my CDs because I think I'd still be the fan listening to the music, but I would have never been able to do these things and certainly not have people ask me to tell them the funny stories, which I have too many of.
Yeah. Well, dude, as I say, like I've said, and will always say, we go way back. You're one of the last old school guys that still has not changed. And we're all, in our mid to late 50s.
I just turned 114.
Well, there you go. But, you are still the same. You still have the same attitude. You still have the same outlook. And I love that. Don't change.
But you're here for
I'm glad I got you on finally.
Yeah, but
I know people are going to go, dude, you got Braverman on your show.
The thing is that you're here for a short time. So please have a good time. And while we're trying to have a good time, realize we're on a rock. We're on a big rock right now. It's fucking flying through outer space, going like, what is it, 17,000 miles or 27,000 miles? There's a meteor shower tonight showing 120 golden things falling out of the sky. If you want to go lay out in the desert tonight, probably starting at about midnight for you astronomy fans. And no one on this rock, and I mean no one, Lars is probably one of the closer, but no one has ever figured anything out.
Yeah. Well, in the words of Vivian, the keyboard player from Spinal Tap, have a good time all the time.
Oh my God, you're going to get me going on Spinal Tap, dude. Personal friends of mine. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, good guys. Well, cool. No. And it's cool that you had such a close relationship to Jeff, because I knew, like I said, all those guys from when they were a cover band, and Jeff was always a nice guy. He was into punk back then. He wasn't, they were all, and Tom wasn't even that big of a metal guy. It was mostly a Carrie, that kind of, charge of that. And it was, it was a whole different thing. But, I do recall when Jeff, because I kept because I was sending their tapes everywhere when they did the advanced tape, the rough mixes of the albums, Show No Mercy, and the videos. We would send them to all the magazines, Ardshaw, Kerrang, Metal Hammer, Metal Forces, Enfer in France, Metal Attack. And they would all do huge, dude, Slayer, give us more on Slayer. And I knew before their tour in Europe, and I kept telling Jeff, I go, dude, you guys are like huge in Europe. Wait till you go over there, man. Wait till this tour. And this was when they did some shows with like UFO and a few things. And just like, yeah, man, cool, man. Thanks. We appreciate all you do. But he kind of like, yeah, we're not that big out there. I go, dude, you guys are huge out there. And then I remember because this was the only time I really spoke with Jeff. And I remember after that tour, they came back. And this was their first European show. So we're talking still early 80s or maybe 84, 85. He came, we saw each other at the Woodstock. He and Tom came up to me like, dude, you won't believe it, how big we are in Europe. And I'm like, dude, I've been telling you that. He goes, yeah, we played. It was crazy, man.
Yeah,
people were yelling Slayer when UFO were playing. I mean, it was insane. Yeah, so,
super cool.
I mean,
worst thing ever in this, it's like embarrassing, but it's like a funny part of the joke is Jeff set up 5,500 times to do a sit-down thing with me. Him and Malcolm Young played this game with me my whole life. These two fuckers, the two number one, the bookends of rhythm guitar playing and writing the best songs. These two fuckers. So anytime something was set, Jeff, something would happen. One night I was even taking Jeff with me to interview Michael Schenker. And Michael's a loon.
Yeah, I know. I've interviewed him many times. Yeah.
So
actually go check out the Shockwaves video cuts of Michael Schenker. That's probably the most sane. And people have said that. Wow, how did you get Michael Schenker in such a talkative, sane mode? And
I liked when you were talking to like John Stradinsky and people like that. That's more interesting. Like those episodes of yours, I like that more. But those guys, like, so my life in metal, even in the Slayer videos where you see Jeff talking, he was talking to Mark. So he would do it with Mark Paschke, like, well, I went to lunch, and then like, oh, yeah. And he would never, it was like a joke to him, like, but we were going to get to it. And then just before we really ever finally did it, he died. And then like the AC/DC thing, Malcolm was already losing it during Stiff Upper Lip. That's why that black ice. Wow. That's why that black ice was so bad. The one they
find that out. Well, I like some of the songs off that. The title track.
Wait. Malcolm had the shit laid out, and the song said, "Satan's coming to town. Drink to death. Satan and drinking and Satan together." Then he's putting out. He's like, "Oh, we did this deal with Walmart. Don't be too fucking pissed." I'm like, "What?" And then the album says, "Rock and roll all night long. Rock tonight."
Every song was rock. Yeah, every song had rock.
Alcohol or Satan or devil was taken out. And to this day, you can go to Walmart and get those for 99 cents. They have giant things of them still. Yeah, a rack of just black ice because they got all the shit.
Yeah.
Right. And then I was like, well, you're losing. This dude's losing his cracker again. Like he did during.
So tell us about Malcolm, how you got, because AC/DC even more so. They were one of those bands that really are not very unapproachable, especially for interviews or for press.
Well, also all the AC/DC people went to Metallica. So that was an interesting part of all this. Like Ian Jeffries, tour manager, the manager, like their manager got the Back in Black tape. Oh, we have some little songs. Would you listen to them and help us? So Peter Munch got the Back in Black demo.
We're talking way back. Yeah.
Right. So these guys are always been around. And then when I'm starting to do my rock and roll journalism, probably like in 1984, I just asked somebody where they were staying. They said, well, they're staying at the Holiday Inn on 40th Street in Van Buren. So I just went over there and I was like, hey, who are these little kids? And I'm like looking down. Oh, that's the band. I'm like, that little thing, that guy right there? Like, this is like Malcolm Young and me together.
Yeah.
So I never understood what the fuck he was saying, but his wife was really nice. What's her name? It's a weird Linda, like Linda is like her name. And so it was just like that. And they'd be like, oh, and then after that, I would be like, there's a really cool Mexican restaurant over here. We should go there. or I know this funny thing, or whatever it might be. And then you just kind of, because they are a bit unapproachable, and they already had the showbiz stuff in their minds before they made their first album from their brothers and cousins, the band, the Young Gang, you know, and the Easy Beats and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So they're already like show busied out when they're 12. So I think that was like, but I just kind of kept going. And I also didn't go, hey, the concert was great tonight, blah, 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 this song. Will you sign my thing? Will you take a picture with me? I never did that, like almost never. If I took pictures, it was of crazy shit going on, not take a picture with me. So over time, it was almost like expected, like, where are you? You know, I was hitting that Hell's Bell with a fucking sledgehammer before you even raise it up and before they start using the
So you're going way back during the Back in Black era.
No, well, it was, but that Back in Black was like 1980, and I think I first started actually physically talking to them probably like 4 or 5 years later. Brian Johnson, I think, was on the cover of the Second Loud magazine, maybe.
Okay.
And then in 2 seconds, I just figured out, kind of like with whatever bands, well, this guy's the whole band and these other people are just here. So Malcolm did every single thing, like Lars. He was the Lars.
Yeah.
You know, of course, he's smaller than Lars, which is impossible. He wasn't quiet if you're sitting, you know, by some pool somewhere, or at lunch. He wasn't quiet. You just couldn't understand what the fuck he's saying.
Yeah.
But like these dudes, like this guy Andy Batty, who's in Metallica and many things. He was Angus Young's guitar tech. Then he did James. Then he did Angus.
So there's a big connection with Metallica and AC/DC.
Yeah, right. And like what's that production manager guy that was always out with AC/DC that ended up taking over the Metallica stuff? It's like all these same people were there. So if you look in like the, you know, if you look in the let me see something here real quick for you. That'll kind of make you laugh. It's just like stuff sitting out. Check this out. You know, stuff sitting out. Jake Berry, like this. For those About to Rock tour program.
Right.
I don't know if you need one of those. Hey, it's right next.
I was at that tour. I was at the Highway to Hell tour.
Black Album for it. So anyway, if you go in here to the staffing, all these people worked for AC/DC. Ian Jeffrey, it says tour manager. He was AC/DC tour manager. Then he was Metallica. Jake Berry, production manager. He did Metallica for many years. All these fucking dudes in here. So, you know, and the only people that have been with Metallica the whole time are someone you already mentioned, Zach Harmon, and then Mick Hughes. So those guys would also facilitate some of this bullshit we were talking about, where I could just go to a Metallica show and take a napkin and a Sharpie and write EB is outside. He's being detained by the local fire chief, whatever. And then a couple minutes later, someone would come out and Zach Harmon or Mick Hughes gave me the stuff to start the shit. Here's tickets, working passes. That was like, give EB the working pass. What the fuck are you doing? I'm working.
Right on.
Like I'll make Death Magnetic passes. I'll say working. You know, then we had Steve Wigg out there, who was Lars's assistant for like 10 years, who actually ended up in a couple movies and stuff. And he finally was fired by Lars, but he came out of the So What gang. And then, so if I went to a show, I could just contact him. And sometimes they would just say,
check out those early issues.
Yeah, but they would tell people like EB, like the thing you said, of course, we're going to take care of you. But if you could just leave it kind of mysterious of who did who, what, how you got in. And I'm like, what about these 60 people with me? Just kind of keep it on the down low, you know. James might. So there was times where I could be like, you would hear on the walkie-talkies, the Planet of the Apes guys having a barbecue on the outside loading ramp. Fire and police officials are there. I'm like, the fire and police officials are here eating with me, but James would hear it on the open walkie-talkie on a crew guy's hip and then start going, what the fuck's he doing? Like, really? Instead of, I'm going to go out and eat or whatever, you know? Like, first night of Death Magnetic tour, we brought a big fryer and fried candy bars and Twinkies because we were at a state fairgrounds, was where the show was. And Peter Mensch came to that show. And this is another funny thing. Peter Mensch comes to the show. I was telling you about Back in Black and him doing Def Leppard. And now he has like Volbeat and Shania Twain and the Red Hot Chili Peppers probably and shit like that. So he comes down to that show in South. It was so South. It was on the Mexican border. First night at Death Magnetic Tour. He sees me doing that. And he's like, can I eat some of those with you? I'm like, of course you can, Peter Mensch. I'm nothing, dude. You see Metallica.
I never met Peter. I know Cliff, but I've never. Peter usually doesn't come out to a lot of those shows, does he?
No. This is the first night. He thought it was important. He thought it'd be interesting. It's in a beautiful place. So anyway, he goes, hey, if I eat these with you, I have to work it off right now. My body isn't a junkyard like yours, Mr. Braverman. And I'm like, it's my body. Look at me. Come on, let's go right now. He's like, I'll eat one. Then I'm going to do some push-ups. Then I'll have another one. And I'm like, all right, cool. So we're outside and he has one and he's doing the push-ups. And James is walking by and he looks out and he sees me standing over Peter Mensch doing push-ups. And he's like, what the fuck? He's got Peter out there fucking he's drilling Peter. He's making him do push-ups out there. You all saw him. You all saw him. And like the show's like not even starting for like 2 more hours. And I'm like, and somebody comes up and goes, hey, James is getting weird again. I'm like, I fucking offered this guy some food, Mr. Mensch, my hero. Because I make fun of him too. Like there's a thing in Metallica.
Did you offer James a hot dog though?
No, it wasn't hot dogs.
That's your problem. Oh,
I did. He actually came by. He looked in the fryer. He saw us doing Snickers bars and candy bars and Twinkies, frying them in the deep fryer. He's like, you guys are fucking crazy. And it's like almost behind Lars's drum set. It's like an outdoor thing in a fair Indian reservation. Crazy. With oversold. It's like 30,000 people show up.
Right.
And they did a radio show for a radio station that did not play Metallica, which I thought was kind of part of doing it like under the radar. One of their
KROQ doing
so they do that. So that whole night, then during the show's about to start, and someone's like, "Hey, EB, you're a pig. No one's going to take this stuff out of the dressing room. Will you please just take it and give it to your friends." Or just have a fun time. And it was like all this fruit and cheeses and fancy ass shit. So I set up this thing and I was looking for a place to fucking set up. So I set up a little place between Kirk's guitar station and Lars's drum set.
Right.
And I sit down there and I have my little snacks and everything, enjoying the concert. And, James just turns around one time, and he just sees me sitting there and I'm like, dude, you fucking this cracker, you missed this fucking delicious cracker. And he's like, and
well, next time you invite me, EB, I'll join you for some fried Twinkies.
No, but it's always fun because nothing ever happens. Though in the end, it's like, nothing happened. It's almost like they use me as a valve. I'm going to blow off steam right now. I can't really yell at anyone. Go crazy. Braverman's here. Because they know I love that attention. Again, I like the Universal monsters and Godzilla.
See, there's this love-hate tension between you guys too.
I don't even think
I think it's gonna come closer.
I love the guy. There's no thing. If that guy called me up and said, dude, my toilet's overflowing and I need you to come over and help clean it up and help me for free, I'd fucking be over there with my best fucking towels, using my hat, just fucking, is this where the shit is on the floor? I got it. Is this enough? Shit on the floor, Alfred. Fuck the toilet. Yeah, so there's no, I just have to call. I think it's
I get it. Yeah.
Don Rickles. It's about the fun. They know I love them.
I love Don Rickles.
He told me to kill motherfuckers. I do it.
Yeah. Well, he just said it. A comedian like Don Rickles would say whatever the fuck he wanted to say. And that's what made him go jail. If he was alive today, he still would, right? Regardless. Yeah, he probably would. He probably would.
Standing trial.
That's the thing, yeah.
Oh yeah,
don't go to jail, EB. I don't want to have to be bailing you out of jail.
They keep me like for 4 hours, and the Air Force calls and goes, "Dude, we can't have him in there. He helps us get ghosts in planes. When we need a ghost in a plane, we call him. When we need a psychic, we call him. When we need an alien, we call him. When we need an angel or a demon, we call him. He can only be just, and also if he's in jail, he has that captive audience. He won't stop talking. It's free entertainment for murderers. So yeah, it's not a.
Well, we could go on forever, EB. I love you, man. Don't change. You are a one of a kind, Eric Braverman. And
hey, man, I'll be your default guy.
Pleasure.
If anyone ever, it's like Jeff.
Absolutely.
Jeff Pilson's coming on, gets a fucking mystery stomach ache. and says, "Whoa, I just can't come on. I don't want to be throwing up." I will throw up on camera without any problem. I can just start.
All right.
But yeah, you see my default guy. But the thanks all go to you and the people that are into your stuff and the people that watch your videos and cooperate with that. That's where the thanks goes, because you do a good job and you're trying to be educational, and there's nothing but good to it. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate all the support.
If you're ever doing one that you want me to do a segment, not a segment, but you can interview me in the, because I'll have
but the problem is you'll never shut up. That's the problem. I wouldn't know how to edit your segment. How could I edit a segment of yours into like 20 seconds?
You have a third party come in and just go, "This guy's for fire right here. We'll cut this. I like the thing he said about the wall, so we'll take that." Yeah.
We'll work on something, definitely. I appreciate it.
Your default. So when you're at the bottom of the well. It's like you and a fucking skeleton. It doesn't have a skull. Even it's just a skeleton. There's no skull stitches. There's no skull stitches. There's a skeleton at the bottom of the well. I can't get out. I will be there for you, man.
And I will definitely hit you up again, Eric. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate all the support you've given to me over the years. And Angus Young fucking rules. And with that said, goodbye and good luck. And we will talk soon.